Ladies and gentlemen.
Good day. Welcome to Mike's Diabetes World. Yes, I had some Cheetos earlier. Still have some orange powder. Okay, so let's bring back something I had a while ago that I had stopped. But let's take a reading of my blood sugar. This is at 1247. My current blood sugar is 6.4. I have 4.67 units of insulin left, and I went up to 11 before lunch, and they started to come down. I took insulin for 92 grams of carbs, and that's shown here by the little food icon. Moving along. Time and range is 93%. If you can see it there, I've got that one little red line. So for 1%, so that comes out to 15 minutes of me being below range. Average blood sugar is 7.6, which is actually quite good for me right now. So, me and my trusty pump, not going to give any more insulin because my blood sugar is great. I'm going to let it ride. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how I survived for years with type 1 diabetes. And sometimes I'm totally surprised by how much I have got, or how long I've actually survived. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. That's it. Okay, for some of you who don't know, I've had diabetes. This October 7th will be 47 years. Well, 48 actually, I lied. Sorry guys. Da-da-da. And thinking back on my life as a diabetic, I am surprised that I am still here. If I was a cat, I'd used 8.5 lives. It's really, I went through a time from probably 2 years after I was diagnosed till early 20s, so about 6 or 7 years, that I really didn't care about diabetes. Diabetes was sort of, oh yeah, I have it, but really doesn't really matter. The problem was I had one time where I didn't have what I needed, and I made something work. And that kind of ruins my life if I just planned, hey, my life has not been an easy one, diabetes wise. I have always had trouble controlling my blood sugar. Now, it did help that through high school, if I wanted a chocolate bar, I would have a chocolate bar. Granted, back then, chocolate bars were only 25 cents. So, back in the good old days. But I would take any extra insulin. But when I was first diagnosed, the philosophy was if you aren't in the hospital, you're doing fine. You would go until you see your doctor. You would act and do everything right for about a week before you went and saw the doctor. And then, oh, well, yes, everything's under control. Well, that certainly changed with the advent of hemoglobin A1C. That, instead of being hailed as a new tool to see how well controlled you are actually doing, it was more a report card. And for diabetics like me, it was always the worst time because you couldn't lie anymore. And people would come up with excuses. Oh, God, was I supposed? Oh, I totally forgot. So it tells you for 3 months. So every 3 months, you're supposed to go and get a blood work so you can see it. Excuse me. What we need is measuring blood sugar, ketones, and hemoglobin A1C all in one. Now we have blood sugars, and if you take a look at the reports that it gives, it will say what your average hemoglobin A1C is. And that'd be pretty close to what it said. Don't embrace the tools. Don't sort of push them aside. Any diabetic who is playing games, I admit I played some games. I went, what was I, 22? No, it must be earlier. It was early 20s. I got sick. And it was sort of like I went out for a birthday party, my birthday party, and I just kept eating and drinking anything I want, and I just took insulin day and night. Even though I had a glucometer, I really wasn't using the glucometer at all. It was, I've had so many lows. Some were generated from me. Others, my body. And to this day, I will be sitting here talking to you, and within 30 minutes, I will have a low. To illustrate this point, I was in the hospital. I know, surprise, surprise. I was in the hospital and I got my blood sugar taken and I had dinner. Friends came over and said, can we go down to the coffee shop and have, diet pop or whatever? Okay, fine. We went downstairs. I can remember there. I can remember sitting at a table with the pop in my hand, and That's all I remember. My friends had to drag me upstairs, and the railing, the hospital railings, which they have for people to hold on to walk, I held on to that and wouldn't let go. And I had to get a big needle of D50W. But I've ended up in intersections of a busy Vancouver thoroughfare. I've ended up on street corners. I'm surprised, to tell you the fact, that I have not been put into a facility years ago. But I was working, and that was important. And when I stopped working, life got easier. But when I started 20s, started to controlling my blood sugar, it didn't come easy at all. I thought, okay, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to take my medication, the doctors gave me a formula. I could every day average out my blood sugar, my medication, so we'd be awesome. I started to have lows all over the place. I was, how do I say this? A frequent flyer at Royal Columbian Emergency. And a lot of times I'd show up there and the doctor would say, "Oh, well, you look okay. We'll do a blood sugar." So they brought over the glucometer. They took a finger poke and it just said, "Hi." I said, "Well, yeah, I'm sure you could probably do this at home. We'll just order a vein blood sugar." It came back in the 40s. So I was admitted, and we go through this whole rigmarole, and I'd walk out of there saying, "I'm going to be perfect this time." But I didn't really believe it in here. And I said in the video, things changed for me when I started to, what did I start to do? Care about me and how diabetes was going to control and I was doing it for me. I started taking my blood sugar 4 times a day religiously. I actually took it upon myself. I did a computer sheet. I started writing down my blood sugars. I started highlighting. I got a whole book. And that's when I really started taking control of my diabetes. When I got onto the pump, things became easier. But if I just did take the interest in my day-to-day blood sugars, I'd be totally way out in left field. I would be in a hospital emergency more times than who goes to emergency a lot. An uninsured male, I don't know, but I took control of me. But those years were not years of growth. They were years of stagnant. I was going through, I didn't have a doctor for some of the years. I didn't have an endocrinologist. So I would just keep taking the regular dose of insulin. I was going high throughout the days. I can remember after graduation, our family moved to North Vancouver. because that's the place my stepfather place of business was. He was building, he wasn't personally building it, but he was overseeing building a extended health wing. And while I was there, I got a doctor. I don't think that doctor is practicing anymore, but Dr. Quirk. Dr. Quirk was a great guy. And he sent me for blood work. I got the blood work done, and he couldn't believe the results. And he actually got me in touch with an endocrinologist, and it was all fairly good. He didn't realize that my swinging blood sugars was an illness, not an illness in itself, but a sidebar to how my diabetes, he picked up that I was a little brittle back then. And after we moved away from the North Shore, I didn't see him again. He retired, so I didn't get another endocrinologist till 95, 96. I had this endocrinologist for 20 years, and she actually fought for the patient, which is amazing. You know, if you don't have a doctor who's going to fight for you and to make sure you're in care, what you give is what you're going to get back. And I can remember with Dr. Wallace going to see her one day, and I had to go on welfare because I wasn't able to work anymore. And we talked about funds because being a diabetic isn't cheap. So, you know, we talked about it. I said, well, the only way I could get more money is if I was disabled. And she sat up right away, or sat in her seat, straight up, and she said, I believe you are disabled, Mike. So we got diabetes, and she wrote a letter, and I was accepted as disabled for national program and provincial program. I don't have a wonderful life, you know, living on expensive beaches or whatever. I'm not making millions, but I'm surviving. So, you know, all this combined, I'm surprised I'm still here from lying face down in the gutter or in the middle of the intersection at Kingsway and Joyce in Vancouver to just walking drunk aimlessly around neighborhoods, almost being hit by cars. It's so much, and to add on times that I didn't take care of myself, just added to the problem. But we talked a bit about this yesterday. I woke up and I started to care about myself. And that is the little light switch. We talked about that yesterday. And that propelled me to try to do my best. I still don't go days without highs, lows, but I know what I'm doing a lot better now than I did for all those early years of being a diabetic. You should try to do your best so that you don't go through what I've had to go through many times being in the hospital. But you can learn and you can grow. That's how I survived. Is I learned how to control my diabetes better. And you can survive diabetes as well. You don't have to end up in a home like I did, but you can do your best. And with that, I'm going to call it a day. Have a great day, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now. Hey, tomorrow's video, we're going to take you along as much as I can of my colonoscopy. We're not going to be able to go in the room, but we're going to try doing this. Didn't have much success with the eyes. Colonoscopy is helping to keep your complications within check. That's what I'm doing. So we'll see you tomorrow, same bat channel, with the colonoscopy, getting ready, going to it, and coming home. I'll talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye. My email address is Mike's Diabetes World at gmail.com. All one line. Drop me